Rankings. We have reporters around the country ready to give us reaction for programs that are feeling a bit nervous leading into the exclusive rankings reveal at noon Eastern on ESPN, as we are 44 days away from going to Miami for the national championship. Good morning. I'm Kevin Nagani alongside Dusty Dvorak, Louis Riddick, and EJ Manuel, and we are going to chop it up just like we chopped it up in the green room. Fiery debates, conversation, who should get in, who should stay out, and the reasons why. As we get ready for the committee and we set the table up for everybody in the morning, what's the one thing you can't wait to see from this committee's decision?
Well, this is simple. There's 3 teams, 2 spots, boys, right? I mean, it's Alabama, it's Notre Dame, and it's obviously Miami. Which 2 are getting in? Which 2 continue to get to compete for a national championship? And who's getting left at home? 3 worthy candidates, Louis, but somebody's going to not get their name called, and there's going to be a fan base, and there's going to be a lot of people upset after today.
Yeah, I think we're going to be in unison about that. I mean, obviously, that is where the entire conversation surrounding college football is centered and focused on right now, and deservedly so. And I understand the argument as far as, the importance of conference title games, and do we want to disincentivize them by punishing Alabama for their performance yesterday? But, hey, look, at the same time, when is head-to-head going to matter? When is it actually going to be put into practice that what Miami did versus Notre Dame to open up the college football season actually does bear some fruit for them in terms of them being included in this? That's the big question today that has to be answered.
Well, the answers I want to hear. You know what I mean? Because that's the other part, too, about this, the explanation as to why the committee chooses whichever team, Team A, Team B, Team C. And it'll be interesting because starting the morning yesterday, I did not think playing a conference championship should cost you. Well, it can only help you, right? It's a consolation.
Shouldn't hurt you.
It's something you earned, right? But after watching the performances, I'm on the fence, fellas.
How you play matters, though, Kevin. How you play matters. I'm tired of saying, what's the point in playing this? Well, you could play good. There were teams that stepped up and played really well. Texas Tech, they earned themselves a bye yesterday. Georgia, we only focus on the negative when teams play poorly, but you can play well. And there has been precedent set in the college football playoff for teams that did not perform well, and it cost them a playoff spot.
We will discuss that because we have seen that. We've seen it last year. We saw it in 2022. We saw it in 2017. But right now, here's why Alabama suddenly is in doubt. SEC championship rematch that we saw from September. And remember, Alabama went to Athens and they beat Georgia, ending their 33. Georgia goes on to win 28-7. Kalen DeBoer, oh no.
That's the way I looked at this game. And if this game applies to and takes away from our resume, I don't think that's right. I really don't. I think the precedent's been set, and I don't know how you can go into a conference playoff game when you're the number 1 seed and did all these things throughout the year, and playing in this game against one of the top teams in the country as well, how that can hurt you and keep you out of the playoff.
As we take a look at the resumes right now, again, this is in question. 9, 10, and 12. Number 11, BYU, losing a second time to Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship game. And let's not forget, keep in mind, Alabama jumped Notre Dame on Tuesday night. They switched spots, so the conversation with Notre Dame and Miami being idle, Alabama losing by 21 points, that is going to be the storyline heading into noon Eastern right here on ESPN. College football reporter Heather Dinich joining us. She has been nonstop on every single show, weighing in on what the committee may potentially go in what direction in their thought process. She joins us from Grapevine, Texas. All right, so Alabama didn't look good in this one. How will that impact now the decision to be made on potentially 2 teams and three teams, I should say, and 2 spots being available?
Well, the selection committee members are having the exact same debate and discussion right now upstairs that you guys were just having. And they're taking into account the fact that you're absolutely right. Alabama played very poorly, -3 rushing yards. But that graphic that you showed, comparing the 3 of those teams, you saw that Alabama had the best strength of schedule and the best strength of record. And don't forget that Alabama has the best win of all 3 of those teams during the regular season on the road against Georgia, the eventual SEC champs. You mentioned Alabama and Notre Dame flipping. While everyone else in the country is focused on that head-to-head between Miami and Notre Dame, the bigger debate in the room all season has been between Alabama and Notre Dame, not Notre Dame and Miami. So to me, it wouldn't be surprising if they flip them again and Alabama and Notre Dame get those final 2 at-large bids today.
Heather standing by, of course, going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk about the ACC and the Group of 5 a little bit later. Let's bring in our guys and continue this conversation. Guys, again, I want to emphasize, it's the best teams, not the most deserving. It is the best teams that they're looking at right now in the playoff. Who are the best teams? The 2 best teams of the 3 choices, as we saw on that graphic.
Well, for me, it's Notre Dame and Miami. I think they're playing the best football. Look at the last month of the season. Alabama hasn't been playing well. They've been leaking oil down the stretch, and that's my concern with them. They clearly outrun the football very well. Ty Simpson, his passing game, is not at the same level that it was. They're not protecting him as well. Look, they've lost. They're 1-2 against conference opponents the last 4 games. They lost to Oklahoma. They obviously lost yesterday in blowout fashion. They eked out a victory over Auburn. Oh, it's the Iron Bowl, and you give them credit. The other one's against an FCS opponent. They're just not playing that well. When you look at Miami, what they did, sprinting through the tape at the end, blowing out Pittsburgh in that final game. And Notre Dame, since those 2 losses, they've won all 10 games by double digits. They're playing great football. That's kind of my question for you guys. Yeah. What is this, best resume or the teams that are playing the best at the end of the season?
Yeah, you know what? I obviously lean a little bit towards the teams that are playing the best towards the end of the regular season, obviously with an eye towards what your resume has been, because you cannot argue against Alabama's resume and who they scheduled and the gauntlet that they ran. I don't understand, though, why the committee is so focused on comparing Alabama and Notre Dame, and Miami sitting back here going, wait a second, but we played Notre Dame.
Right.
And by all accounts, you can measure it objectively or subjectively. We beat the heck out of them in week 1. And quite honestly, I don't know. Look, if you poll coaches, it would probably be 50-50 for coaches that have played against both Notre Dame and Miami about who they think would win between those 2 teams. But right now, look, Miami's playing as good a football as anyone in the country. Anyone. The quarterback, Carson Beck, has been on a heater for the past month. Malachi Toney is one of the most exciting players in all of college football. They probably have the 2, well, not probably, they have the 2 best defensive ends, arguably. Texas Tech would say, hey, what about us? But we have 2 of the best defensive linemen in all of college football. Big, and our offensive line is big and physical, and we got 4 backs that can bludgeon you. I mean, if we looked at Alabama right now and we looked at that performance yesterday, when's the last time Alabama has been ranked out of the top 100 in rushing yards per game or rushing average per carry?
Yeah.
It has. I don't know if that's ever happened.
-3 yesterday.
Exactly.
-3. Second lowest in program history. It's
so
not
right
great.
now, look, I am definitely tipping my cap to them as far as the gauntlet they have run through. But these are Notre Dame and Miami would be the 2 teams I'd put in there.
So would I. And the other part about this is if you look at a common opponent, right, if the committee wants to figure out, all right, all these metrics, strength of record, strength of schedule, all this kind of stuff, the head-to-head, to us athletes always matters the most. If I beat you, Lewis, I step forward. If you beat me, you step forward, I sit back. But the other part to this, a common opponent between Alabama and Miami, Florida State. Miami beat Florida State. Alabama lost to Florida State. I understand this was week 1. It's early. Exactly. And it's a completely different portion of the season.
Right.
But if the committee needs a reason to say, well, this is another kind of bullet point for Miami here as to why they should get in, that could be it.
But, I mean, by the same token, for the season that Alabama beat Georgia as well.
Correct.
That was a while ago. It wasn't week 1, but it was still a while ago. So how far back are you allowed to go where it really matters? And then how far back do you go that it doesn't matter? Because obviously people are kind of banging on Miami saying it doesn't matter what you did to Notre Dame week 1. That was just too long ago. We can't consider that right now. They have to be in similar pods in order for us to compare them and for the head-to-head to really matter. I mean, come on now. We're sliding the scale up and down to kind of like fit what our preconceived notions are of these football teams.
It's a long season. It's a long season, and it feels to me like Alabama, they hit their peak early. That Georgia game was probably when they were playing their best, and now they're tapering down. Where you have Miami, they hit that lull, lost 2 or 3, but then they started to ascend again at the end of the season, playing their best football. And Notre Dame's been a constant ascension. My question is this. We can show resumes? This committee, one thing I've noticed every week, they're big on eye test. They are big on eye test, and I'm wondering how much does that eye test come into the committee? There's no way they watched the SEC championship game, and they watched that game and said, that's one of the best teams. That team right there that we're watching tonight is better than Miami, is better than Notre Dame.
Part of Alabama's resume is you beat Georgia.
That's right.
Right? The SEC champ already. On the road, right? You beat Vanderbilt, right? When you look at the best win specifically for Miami, they beat Notre Dame. You look at the best win for Notre Dame, you beat USC. So it's a question of the best team, the hottest team, the head-to-head winner, right?
Well,
I will bring up one other thing. Why should Alabama be penalized because they made it to their conference
Correct.
championship?
Yep.
Good point.
Right. And now that's another layered discussion. How do we view conference championship games?
Well, for that matter, then why aren't we talking about BYU? Because BYU was ranked number 11,
Absolutely.
and they play in the conference championship.
Yep.
Since the playoffs have began, we've always done this.
Yes, we have.
And the committees have. They have penalized teams for not performing well in their conference championship games. This notion that this would be unprecedented, it's a false narrative.
Right. Yep.
Okay, you've already referenced it.
Yep.
2017, Auburn going into championship weekend was number 2. They lose. They drop 5 spots.
Same score, 28-7 to Georgia.
Yes.
And an idle team, Alabama,
And who got in?
jumps in.
Alabama got in. 2022, it was USC was number 4. They lose to Utah. They dropped 6 spots. They went from 4 to 10. Ohio State was 5. They get in. Even last year, guys, when you look at SMU in the ACC championship, everyone says, well, they still got in. They did, but they went from 8 to 10. Why is that significant? Because they lost home field advantage.
Correct.
And guess what? An idle Indiana jumped 1 spot in front of them to number 9. So let's not act like this isn't. Again, we should. If you play in a conference championship game and you play poorly, it can penalize you because you were going out there and you were saying, this is part of our resume. This is who we are.
Yeah.
If you play well, you're going to get rewarded. If you play poorly, it's going to likely cost you.
Well, I'll add this to an undefeated Florida State. I know that's my alma mater. Undefeated Florida State got penalized by winning the conference championship, going undefeated, but without Jordan Travis, they didn't make the playoff that year. So the conference championship does matter.
And that was the biggest storyline for 2 years, and many fans have not gotten over it now and understanding the idea of the committee. Again, every single year, new committee members, it is the 12 best teams. All right, you mentioned ACC.